What's up, guys? Welcome back to the review and discussion for UnOrdianry, episode 318. This episode, I think, is the best one in a long time, just because of one decision that Uru made that I think is really, really cool. Whether or not it was intentional, there was one detail I noticed about this episode that I want to talk about when we get there, of course. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So, it starts out immediately with John at the safe house, where we see some students talking about the recent updates with Spectre, but also about Ember, saying that the investigation on Ember hasn't been addressed at all, and it's strange that they were able to find Spectre so quickly, but there's still no info on Ember. Now, this does make sense. That would raise suspicion. Of course, we, the audience, know that the only reason they were able to find Spectre so quickly is because Sarah and John and Arlo were able to drop that info for them, to provide that info to Arlo to get it to Cassandra. Now, one thing that I also think is a little strange, Spectre has actually, if we're going based on what Leon said in the last episode, where Spectre has remained hidden for years, I'm still a little skeptical of that, actually. But if we're going on what that is true, Spectre actually has managed to stay hidden for quite a while before being announced to the public. Now, if what Leon is saying is true, clearly we have to take what he says with a grain of salt. He could be a potential big villain. Then yeah, they've actually done a fairly good job hiding it, and it makes sense that the authorities wouldn't announce that they're looking into a terrorist organization like Spectre, because stuff like this happens. So, as they're speculating, Evie shows up, and she's nervous, shaking, and talks to Remy. She mentions never hearing about Terrence again, now wondering what's happened to him. And she also says, the authorities scare me. People vanish and are never mentioned again. And Dylan also shows up saying that he thinks they're super shady. Now, I think this is really interesting because does everyone not know what happened to Terrence? Or do they not remember? Does everyone not believe that when John said Terrence was a part of this, when he made it public and ousted Terrence? I'm not sure. Do they not know that Terrence is the one who disabled John? It's honestly kind of hard to say because John was separated from everyone for quite a long time. So, and I'm sure if we went back and checked on Evie during that time, she would also be like, "Where's Terrence? What's going on?" So, neither here nor there, honestly. Hey guys, real quick, it's Post J here. So I did a little digging for this part of the video, like I just mentioned, with Evie not knowing about Terrence. So yeah, back in episode 259, Evie actually brought up when they were all heading down after everyone got dampened. She actually brought up if they were leaving Terrence behind. So yeah, it seems like she doesn't know. Blyke also does just offhandedly mention, forget about him. He may not be who we think he is, but they don't really tell anything about beyond that. And then also, later in episode 263, that is when John also tells everyone who isn't Blyke and Ice and the lower tiers to get out of the way and to head down while they held everyone off, all the Spectre goons. So yeah, they weren't there. Evie especially wasn't there for when John got disabled. So we can assume that they don't know that it was Terrence who did disable John. They may have been left in the dark. So yeah, that is a little clarification on that I found out in post while doing a little investigating. So that's it. But Dylan even says that if Spectre really is hidden among everyone, what if there's still students who are part of Spectre at the school? And yeah, that's kind of, it's got a good point, honestly. Spectre could have a lot of agents. After all, Rain was one of them among the Agwin students. But yeah, Dylan even tells Remy that his parents have been scared about the entire situation. I'm assuming among Spectre and Ember. but he's just glad that he can come to school, or maybe he meant the safe house to get away from the nervous energy. And when I read that the second time, I honestly thought it's kind of weird that John is there when that's brought up, because I've said it before, I am the #1 John stan, but he definitely did not make things less nervous for the safe house. So yeah. So then we cut to Portsville. I don't think we've been here before, but a new town maybe. But we see a vigilante, a fairly young looking man with goggles and a cape. He's got orangish hair. He's got like orangish hair, and his eyes. What color were his eyes again? His eyes are like purple. I thought he looks a bit like Oren, but I don't think there's a connection. I think it may just be coincidence. It could be something, but I highly doubt it, honestly. So his adversaries catch up to him, and he mentions that they don't match up with the research he did beforehand. Just like Remy, this guy was just like Remy with Waldo, and I think Lance was the other guy's name. This guy did his research before coming out and everything. So he gets jumped and wonders how they got so strong. Clearly, these guys have gotten a hold of some amplifiers. And then the cavalry arrives. Remy electrocutes, Blake shoots, Kuyo slashes, dispatches of the dudes, and the kid sees them. And he is just like, whoa. So Kuyo and Remy then talk to him for a bit. Kuyo asks why he's out risking his life, and he says that he doesn't like the current situation with everything. The authorities handling Spectre and Ember, stating they clearly don't have things under control. Kind of true, honestly. They have control, but just the wrong control, and because of that, they're starting to see a lack of control. So he doesn't feel, and he says it doesn't feel right to do nothing while terrible things happen. But after Untitled, he decided to step out and help others. And Remy and Kuyo are unsure what that is, but Kuyo tells him he needs to get stronger before coming out again, or find someone to watch his back, like Remy and Kuyo with Blake, like Kuyo with Remy, Blake, and Ison. That's when he asks if they'll watch his back and teach him a few things. And Remy, I'm assuming that Remy reluctantly agrees. I'm going to go with this was her decision, not Kuyo's. But we get back to the dorms where Remy, Blake, and Ison are back in her room looking at Grayson's profile. Yes, we get a name drop for him. We don't get an ability, though. I don't think we got an ability. Hold up, let me pull that back up. Yeah, no ability. We do get his level, though. He's a 3.7, and he's Agwin's 7th strongest student. And honestly, now that I think about it, if we compare it to the Wellston top 10, that is a very big difference, honestly. The gap between... So let's see. Wellston's 10th strongest student, who we know of so far, is Holden, who's a level 4. So Grayson is 3 levels. So they're 7th compared to Wellston's 7th, who might be Ison. Hold up. Sarah, John, Arlo, Remy, Cecile, Blake, Ison. So yeah, Ison. That's a pretty big gap, honestly, all things considered. But anyway, I'm curious about what his ability is, honestly. But they speculate as to why he's doing this, and Remy mentions Untitled. Ison researches it and finds that it's a document that was published 10 days ago. 11 chapters have passed since episode 307, when that was dropped by William way back when. And Remy realizes that the document is actually UnOrdianry, and then Blake asks why not just publish it as that. But when Blake asks why the publisher would do that, Ison says it's probably to declare war on the authorities. Ison tells him they probably know, whoever published this probably knows that the authorities are looking for UnOrdianry to block it. If you publish it as this, it won't spread as fast, but it'll still get the message out. So, yeah, like I mentioned, 11 chapters have passed since episode 307. And Eisen mentions that it was published 10 days ago. And that's why for this next part, I want to talk about the timeline of everything that has happened from episode 307 to episode 318 now. So, episode 307's ending is where William rewrites Uno, probably referencing a lot of the stuff that he made for John's copy way back when, and publishes it as Untitled after being furious at Leon making the announcement that they will keep the public safe, remembering that they broke his son, they took his wife, and they silenced his book. Episode 308, I'm going to say, is the next day. This is where John is in his room holding on to UnOrdianry, the copy that his dad typed out for him. Now, I probably mentioned it way back when in my review and discussion for that, but I did really love the decision and the importance of the end of one episode being William republishing his book in some fashion, and the next episode starts out with his son, the person it was written for, holding on to the book again. We don't know if John read it or not. For now, I'm going to say he hasn't reread it again yet, but that's not important because this is also when Blake and Remy go back to Wellston. Blake fills John in on everything. Him and Remy then go to Eisen's room, and Eisen talks to the two of them that they can't mess around with their situation now that they're known and wanted fugitives. In this episode also, Arlo tries to connect with Elaine. Cass is told not to be slacking by Valerie for not being faster with the case on Vaughn. And Arlo offers to help out Cass again with the case against Vaughn, gathering a little more intel for the others, and talks to her about Ray. This is one day. So, episode 309. Sarah talks to Layla about when they'll be able to leave, and they also talk about Sarah and John's friendship/relationship. Doc comes to the scene, and he says that he's going to need John's blood for an idea. Meanwhile, in this episode, Kuyo and Kaden talk things out and fill each other in on their second lives. Kuyo's as a vigilante, Kaden's as a member of Spectre, a terrorist organization. Kaden then contacts John about Doc needing him for a day. I'm going to say this is half a day within day 2. Episode 310. Doc takes John's blood sample, tells him about the amplifiers matching John's DNA. John tells Doc his ability hasn't left and the rundown of how his ability operates. Sarah then gathers that this is proof, and Sarah tells John about Jane being his mom, the one she saw the file on. John says he doesn't care. They connect over their bad mothers, and John breaks Sarah down on everything that's been going on with Arlo, Remy, and the lot, and Arlo needing a major promotion in order to be able to help everyone. And Sarah gets an idea. This episode is a few hours, I would say, and it's still day 2. Day 311. Sarah suggests throwing Orin under the bus so that Miranda and Neil, the other two Spectre executives, can be rid of him, but they need the location. They ask Kaden for it since he can teleport there, but they learn that he's under Orin's command. John is able to locate a rough area of the location due to previously using Kaden's ability to teleport away from there and get out of there back to docks. Sometime later, I'm going to say day 3. John gives Arlo the map of the rough area and the plant, telling him use this for a promotion if you can. Arlo asks Cass for help and wanting to get someone, Serafina, immunity and protection for giving them this info. It's around this time where we also see Arlo decide not to fill in Valerie about this, and even Cassandra asks him, why come to me and not your aunt? And Arlo wonders that himself. But Cass agrees to help him scope out the location to see if the info is legit, and they begin scoping the area out. This is the rest of day 2, the first half of day 3. Episodes 312 to 316, that is the Spectre raid. Everything happens within a few hours, I would say. Arlo and Cass find the location thanks to Cass's ability. They get trapped inside. We meet Rain again. Oren takes control of Rain's body as they try to break out. Valerie shows up with the cavalry to save the day. Rain is captured. Oren, Liam, and Candace get away. A day or a few days later, I'm going to say a few days later, so this is either day 4, day 5, or day 6. Arlo and Cass are in the hospital while Arlo focuses on not being strong enough, and Cass finds out that she's going to be the one in charge of the Spectre investigation. Episode 317. Day 7 at this point, so 1 week or so. Arlo and Cass take part in a press conference, and we get a name drop for Leon, and Cass makes it public that she's leading the Spectre case. Sarah sees Arlo will be part of the case while he's at the press conference, and she believes that the plan is going to work. During this day also, Cass visits Rain. This has to be the same day because she's wearing the exact same outfit and hairstyle and everything when she's talking to Rain. So, she visits Rain, and then she tells Rain that she can't get her out yet, believing that as the authorities believe that Rain may still be under Spectre's control. But Cass tells her that she's here, that she still wants to be here for Rain, and even though she can't get her out, she still wants to have Rain's back, and if Rain needs help, to contact her. So there's that. Rain brushes her off. Now, this last part is tricky. Day 8 or 9 or 10. Arlo arrives at school. I'm going to say this might most likely be day 9 or 8. Arlo arrives at school, and as everyone sees him walking around, they talk about seeing him on TV, knowing he's going to be part of the Spectre case. Zeke is also seen, wondering how he got a part in such a big investigation. John and Arlo then talk things out about how the raid went. Arlo tells him that he almost died. John says, "Welcome to the club, bro." But Arlo tells John he thinks that everything will be going well. He thinks that Sarah should be able to get the pardon, and everything should be smooth sailing from here. And John shows appreciation to Arlo as they're feeling good about the current turn of events. Now, episode 318. This is the episode we talked about just now. This is where, like I said, Arlo and Remy are in the safe house. Some kids are discussing being skeptical of the authorities. Evie talks to Remy about being uneasy about everything. Dylan mentions that he thinks the authorities are shady. Remy tells him she understands how we feel. We then cut to the night of day 10. This has to be day 10. The nighttime of this episode is definitely part of day 10 no matter what. This is where we meet Grayson, playing a vigilante. Remy and Co make the save home in, and he tells them about Untitled. It's the second time out. He asks them to teach him, and then back at Wellston, they review his file. Remy mentions Untitled, and like I said, Ison finds it, and that's where we are now. This is the part of the episode that, whether or not it was intentional or not, I think it's really, really cool how this all turned out. We then cut to William, and I'm going to definitively say this is the 11th day since Untitled was published. It's been 11 episodes since episode 300, since that drop, and since that reveal from episode 307, and this happens on the 11th day. William goes to the store to get some groceries. We see Aiden. He gets home, and while he's putting his groceries away, the authorities arrive. Someone in a suit arrives. I don't think we, actually, now that I think about it, I don't think we ever get any real confirmation that they're with the authorities. That we don't. Someone in a blue suit, someone in a few suits just arrive. I tell them, "Good afternoon, sir." And William asks if he can help them. I think it is fairly obvious that these are the authorities, though, but it could be someone else. Could be someone worse. But nonetheless, that is where the episode ends. And that terrifies me for what's about to happen for William. And honestly, breaking all this down, we meet a new character that I am excited to learn more about. I hope we do get to. But that's where we are now. And honestly, whether or not Uru planned this out, I think it's genius that the way it did play out. Because of that alone, I honestly have to say this episode is a 9.1. Level 9.1. It's really, really cool. And I love when things line up like this. So, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And as always, everyone, see you, Space Cowboy.